Today's topic is going to be over slope. Okay, when you think of slope, you should be thinking of lines, because every line has a slope. We will eventually get to talking about slope, but first we need to cover the coordinate plane. So we'll give you just a little review of the coordinate plane. Remember that the coordinate plane is created by two axes. Okay, these axes are just number lines. So the first axis goes horizontal, right? Goes horizontal, and it's called the x-axis. It is horizontal. The vertical axis that comes down through, this is of course the y-axis, and it's vertical. Okay, so there are our two axes. And again, they're just number lines. What we do is we put little marks on them to count our numbers with. Now, we need to remember that when we go to the right, this is positive. When we go up, that's also positive. When you go to the left, that's negative, and when you go down, that's negative. So that's how the numbers work. Positive is to the right and up, negative is to the left and down. All right. Now, on the coordinate plane, we plot points. Okay, so we plot points. So what we've been doing a lot of in the last couple of days is answering our problems in point form. Points are x, y ordered pairs. X, y ordered pairs. Remember that to plot a point, you move x first, that's right or left, and then y second, that's up or down. We will practice that in one of our examples today. But that's what we plot. We plot points on the coordinate plane. Now, we always start plotting from this point right in the middle. This point is called the origin. The origin is the point 0, 0. Okay? And that is where we start all of our points from. That's where all of our points originate from. And you go x first, left or right, then up or down second. Now, in each quadrant, each space, there are certain points, x and y values, that go in each quadrant. So this is called the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, notice that there are positive signs around your axes. The x coordinate is going to be positive, and the y coordinate will also be positive. In the second quadrant, your x coordinates will be negative and your y coordinates will be positive. In the third quadrant, notice negatives around the axes. Both your x and y are negative. And then lastly, in the fourth quadrant, your x is positive and your y is negative. Positive x, negative y. There are two more places where points could go. The first is on the x-axis. If you are a point on the x-axis, then you go left or right, so you have an x-coordinate. But your y-coordinate is 0. You never leave off the axis. You don't go up or down. Similarly, if you are a point on the y-axis, then you don't go left or right. Your x is 0, but you do go up or down, so you have a y coordinate. And here's all you need to know about the coordinate plane. All right. So this is all the parts of the coordinate plane. So let's get back to slope. Okay, that was just kind of a review. Let's get back to slope. So the slope of a line. Okay, so let's draw a picture of a coordinate plane. Here's x, here's y, and let's draw a line. Okay, we'll draw a line, just an arbitrary line through the coordinate plane. Let's say that's my line. And I would like to put 2 points on that line. Let's call the first point x1, y1. These are subscripts, they're small numbers at the bottom. Let's call this point x2, y2. Okay? So when you're finding slope, there's really 2 ways to think about it, okay? There's 2 ways to think about it. So, slope. The lowercase letter m stands for slope. So the first way to think about slope, if we were to count the slope, we could count how to get from one point to the other. First by counting up till we get to the same level as the second point, and then counting over. So we would count up and then over. When you go up or down, this is considered the rise, and when you go left or right, that's considered the run. And here is how you find slope by counting. Rise over run. Okay? So there's one way to think about slope. The other way to think about slope is by using these coordinates. If you're thinking about rising and running, to rise, essentially what you're doing is you're taking the upper y value and you're subtracting the lower one. To run, you're taking the upper x value, and you're subtracting the smaller one, the lower one. These could also be considered your rise and run. So your slope can also be considered y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can also flip around the numbers, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Either way, you'll get the same slope. Just make sure that your numbers vertically come from the same point. Notice that y2 and x2 both come, right? They both come from that point. Both of them. So the points, the numbers up and down come from the same point. But either way, no matter what some teacher before me has told you, they're both correct. All right? So I first want to take a look at an example to illustrate some idea of slope. We're going to write this idea right here. Okay? Slope is constant. Constant. Very important to think about this idea. The slope is constant. Never does this line change its slope. It has the same slope all the way through. Okay? So we're going to do an example of that on the next slide here. Okay, on the next space. So I'm going to scroll down. Slope is constant. Okay, so what do we mean here? Well, let's draw a picture. Oh, first of all, no. Let's do like an example. Okay, we're going to plot the points. Let's plot the points. 1, 3, 0, 1, negative 1, negative 1, and negative 2, negative 3. It's just a small little example. We're going to plot the points 1, 3, 0, 1, negative 1, negative 1, and negative 2, negative 3. Okay. So here's my coordinate plane. This is my x-axis, and that's my y-axis. Okay. I need to put at least 3 marks on all the axes, so I will do that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I've done so. And now I'm going to plot my 4 points. Okay, so my 4 points are 1, 3. So there's the first one. So starting at the origin, 1 to the right, up 3. 0, 1. Don't go anywhere left or right, up 1. So this is 1, 3. So that's 0, 1. Negative 1, negative 1. Left 1, down 1. Always x first, y second. Negative 2, negative 3. Left 2, down 3. Okay. And notice these 4 points follow a straight line. Let's go ahead and graph that. They should look pretty close on your paper. Okay. What I want to do is I want to show you that no matter which points you find the slope between, you will always get the same slope. Okay? So we're going to choose 2 points. Let's choose the middle 2 and then the outside 2. So let's choose these 2 points. So we're going to find the slope between negative 1 and 0, 1. And then we'll find the slope between 1, 3 and negative 2, negative 3. Okay, and I'll do it over here. So, first, when you're finding slope, let's use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Over here, let's label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? So let's label 0, 1, x1, y1. Let's label negative 1, negative 1, x2, y2. So we'll label our first point x1, y1, and our second point will be x2, y2. So when we plug it into the formula, you simply replace the number, for the variable. So y2 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus y1 is 1 over x2. x2 is negative 1 minus x1, which is 0. And now we need to be able to simplify. You have to simplify your slopes. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. And what is negative 2 over negative 1? Simply 2. So there's the first slope that I wanted to find. Okay. Now I want to find the slope between the outside points. So again, there's my slope formula. Let's label our points. Let's label this top one x1, y1, and let's label this bottom one x2, y2. Alright, so it doesn't matter which one's which. y2 is negative 3. Negative 3 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus x1 is 1. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 3. And then we simplify. We divide. Negative 6 divided by negative 3 is 2. So notice that your two slopes are the same. Slope for any line is constant, no matter which points you pick. Okay? Alright, so I want to try a couple examples, and then we'll be done. Okay, so some examples from your text. Example, find the slope. Okay. Okay, so in the first problem here, we have 2 points, negative 1, 5, and 3, 2. So we have 2 points here, negative 1, 5, and 3, 2. I want the slope. Alright. So we write the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. It does not matter which ones are which. And now we plug them in. y2 is 2, y1 is 5, 2 minus 5, x2 is 3 minus, and then x1 is a negative 1. Watch what I do. Okay? Notice what I do there. Minus a negative. These minus signs are part of the formula. If you have negative numbers, give them their own parenthesis. 2 minus 5 is negative 3 on the top. On the bottom, we go ahead and change the minus into a plus plus. And 3 plus 1 is 4. This does not simplify, so here is your slope, negative 3/4. Let's do a second example. Okay, let's try this one. Let's try 6/13, and let's try negative 8/13. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the slope formula again. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. And we plug in y2 is 13 minus y1, which is also 13. In the bottom, x2 is negative 8 minus x1, which is 6. 13 minus 13 is 0. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. 0 over negative 14. If the top is 0, zero over any number comes out to be 0. Remember this. 0 over any number comes out to be 0. So the slope here is 0. So what does that mean? A slope of 0. Well, let's just quickly draw a little picture. Okay? I'm just going to estimate where these points are. 6, 13. Just going to estimate. Okay, I'm not going to really do 6, 13. Okay, so it's somewhere 6, 13. And then negative 8, 13. If I draw a line through them, we get a special kind of line. We get a horizontal line. If you get a slope of 0, I would like you to write the word horizontal next to it, signifying that you know that you get a horizontal line when the slope is 0. Okay? So 0 slope means horizontal line. And here is an example right there. Okay. 2 more and I will be finished. Alright? So 0 slope means horizontal line. Don't forget that. Okay, third example. Take a look at these two. Let's do negative 4, 1, and negative 1, negative 2. Okay, these two examples, these two points. Okay, so again, slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. Label your points x1, y1, x2, y2. When you plug them in, negative 2 minus 1, negative 2 minus 1. Negative 1 is x2 minus a negative 4. Okay, so what do we get? Well, in the top, negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. In the bottom, we got to do a little plus plus here. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. When you divide negative 1 and 3, you get negative 1. Okay. So remember to always simplify your slopes, right? Always simplify your slopes. Never leave them as unsimplified fractions. All right, last one, and I'll be finished. So we have the points 3, 2, and we have the points 3, 5. The point 3, 5. The point 3, 2, and the point 3, 5. So the first thing we'll do is we will find the slope by writing the formula down. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We will label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. And we'll substitute, right? y2 is 5 minus y1, which is 2. x2 is 3 minus x1, which is 3. Simple substitution. So what do we get? Well, 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Uh-oh. Another special situation. Any number over 0 is undefined. This word, undefined. Undefined. All right, that's what we classify. Any number divided by 0 is undefined. So in our problem here, we would answer the slope as undefined. Now, what does that mean on a graph, though? I would like to understand this. Well, let's draw a picture. And again, let's just, put the points not necessarily where they should go, but sort of where they go. 3, 2. 3, 2, and 3, 5. Okay, so we have 3, 2, and we have 3, 5. Notice what happens when I draw a line through them. Okay, notice what happens when I draw a line through them. What kind of line do you see? Right? I see a vertical line. We need to understand that undefined slopes mean that the line is vertical. And again, I would like to see the word vertical next to undefined. I would like to see the word vertical next to undefined. All right. So we have 0 slope is a horizontal line. Undefined slope is a vertical line. Okay, so be aware of that as you go through the problems. All right, thanks for watching.